What is up, guys? Welcome to the Huddle. We're here to give the installer a voice and make sure you're equipped to win with everything you need in the current market environment. To all our new viewers, welcome to the team. Well, it looks like we are shy one of the uh, major contributors today. It's only me and Jose, but Daniel is trying to join. I know that for a fact. He was on a little bit
Technical
earlier. We were
difficulties, of
dealing with a little
course.
bit of technical difficulties trying to get the streaming up and running. So fun, fun, fun.
It's always fun when you have
Episode
issues on the other platforms.
almost episode 300 by now, I think. And we just, you got to deal with this stuff every week. So what's up, Mr. Jose?
What's going on, brother?
Oh, trying to
Just
make the
another day.
trying to hang on while the world turns.
Yeah. It is spinning pretty fast.
How's life? How's Michigan?
The weather is finally breaking. We've got consistent warm days. We're outside playing baseball. Everybody's outside playing baseball in better weather. Uh, Grass is finally starting to grow a little bit, getting green, getting all those nice dandelions in the grass, and reminding myself how I don't have time to go fertilize and
Yeah.
get my yard to par, but that's all right.
Well, I'm just glad to see you, brother. I'm glad you could make it today as usual. I shouldn't even say that. You guys are I'm trying to turn on a couple of sharing things here myself, but you guys are always here and so I'm hoping to delay or long enough here to get your brother on. But today's podcast for our viewers is building a blueprint to success, collaborating with architects and I believe it's general contractors as well. Um, So this is something that I love doing. Um, if you guys want to get going in the chat, ask any questions. I do a lot of this, specifically with architects and designers. So got a lot of experience here. I know you guys, Jose and Daniel, do as well.
We're gaining,
Um,
we're gaining more. We're gaining more. You definitely, your experience is definitely leaps and bounds above what we have, but we're learning.
well, it's the secret. It's one of the secrets to this business. So if you're a flooring company, give you some of my secrets and. Uh, It's it is what it is. That's what this podcast is for. But if you're an installer, you can get a good insight on how you might be able to do this as well. Um, a lot of this, a lot of the success that comes from working with architects, designers, general contractors, um, specifically architects and designers, is listening. Really listening and then understanding them, so that you don't we all have a little bit of egos in us, and if you go to college for a few years to get a design degree, you want to have your selections protected and have your have your opinions valued and things like that. I think we all want that, but it is one of the keys to success when working with a architect.
Hey,
Designer. Hey, what's up, Daniel? He's
What's up?
back. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I had to quit everything and then reopen it.
All right. Are you back for good?
I hope so. It just kept on kicking me off randomly, so we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, I was just saying what our topic is. Thanks for joining, brother. I was talking about the weather a little bit, doing a little bit of delaying, seeing if
Seeing
we
if I
could
was gonna
get you
join
on
back
here.
in.
Yeah. All right. Well, audience, participate today. If you want to know if you have any questions about working with architects, designers, even general contractors, I would say this panel has a pretty doggone deep knowledge of that, and I view it as one of the differentiators for us and our our competition is working with architects and designers in particular, and being able to understand, like I was telling Jose earlier, their quirks and what drives them and what they're really looking for. And that's different. I mean, if you're dealing with general contractor and you give them price and schedule, you win the day. Architects and designers are a little bit different, and they're budget conscious a lot of times, but they're also much more. We've done work directly with them, directly with architects and designers, and they're more like driven by the end result. Um, they leave that pricing stuff for general contractors. So if you can work direct or do some specifications, working with the designer early on on a project, it is a real differentiator, and can add a little bit better margin to your projects as well. So
Yeah, or being requested and having, let's say, having your foot in the door, um, because of what you provide, the solutions you provided in the past is
well,
phenomenal. It's a great relationship.
yeah, essentially, if you're taking the place of your sales reps and you're specifying product for them, and you're literally placing their products on projects, you're doing their job, so they're willing to give. You brought the project to them, so they're willing to give you a better price. If you you can pass on all that price, or you can pass on some of that price. I suggest some of it, not all of it, and make yourself a better margin. Um, and frankly, when you're dealing with architects, designers, I'll just say the A&D community from here on. When you're dealing with the A&D community, you have um, in many ways put yourself in a position where you have to think like them and really be cognizant of that desired look. So you know how when we bid a set of drawings, what's the worst thing you come across, Daniel, when you see a set of drawings and something's not clear?
Everything. It's
Everything.
always
I
it's
was gonna
always
see
them
what
put
you would say, but I really despise that wasn't the intent or design intent on a
well
set of
and
drawings.
in the
And
specs and on the print it will say do whatever one is like refer to this one for the right one, but then most of the time
whichever
neither
one,
of them are right anyways.
Yeah,
yeah, or when it
got one
says,
right now.
if there's a discrepancy between the specs and the drawings or something of that nature, it'll say, or in any of this documentation that you should assume the greater of the two. Well, you're going to just price yourself right out of a job. You get to collaborate more when you're dealing directly with the A&D community as opposed to working through a general contractor. Because a GC wants to keep it peaches to peaches. He wants to know he's comparing the same that you're looking at the same way someone else is, so he can, he or she can accurately assess the bidding. Um, if you're doing a lot of design work or a lot of specifying, you're kind of stepping in that position, and you can collaborate more with them. You can ask them, "Hey, what are you wanting to do here?" I'm working on a nice project right now, and man, it's kind of fun. I've always enjoyed it. This one in particular is fun. It's a little upper end of a multifamily, and
Ooh, upper end. Ooh, fancy.
yeah, I, you know, what multifamily brings a lot of times. Well, this is more for, it's in a college town, and it's more for um, the parents or something like that than the students. And
It's for the people who pay the bills. I got you. You got to
yeah,
attract. That's who you got to attract.
yeah. So it's been a really fun project to be involved with. The designer's been super awesome. And at the end of the day, when you put in that kind of work, you hope to, because you're doing so much more than just bidding a project, you can make better margins, and you get to work through a lot of the little discrepancies. A lot of times when I'm bidding a job, and I'd love to hear your take on this too, Daniel, but if I don't have, if I can just pick up the phone and talk to the designer and know what they want, as opposed to having to go through this RFI system, so it's always apples to apples.
Oh my goodness.
If
I
you can just pick up that phone and say, "Hey, at the end of this corridor where the carpet tile ends at the stairs, or what are you wanting to do there, or whatever the scenario." Um, what I
I
mean,
have been on a project before where it was like going on and on and on, and it was like, man, I'm spending so much time on just submitting this stuff, and they were like, hey, well, the architect's actually going to be here on this day at this time. I said, me too. And it's crazy the amount that can get accomplished just in that short conversation
yeah,
instead of having to submit something, waiting I mean, between, a couple of days and a couple of weeks sometimes for them to get back to you.
yeah.
Especially around spring break. Oh my goodness, was that a bad time to have bids due?
It's been busy for sure. Keeping with the blue, if we were to build a blueprint, as the title says, to success for these collaborations, I would probably start at knowing your product. Yeah, really knowing and having a vast knowledge of different product lines, whether it's in the sheet vinyls, the LVTs, the tiles, all the different product lines, because once they look at you, once the A&D community kind of um, uh, visualizes or looks at you as the expert, man, the calls just come through. The they want to work with you because they know that you're going to put the right product in the right locations. um, and then you start to get, kind of some owner confluence as well, where, hey, you did this one before with me on with this owner, what do you think he'll like on this scenario? And that's just a great position to be in, other than just hard bidding. Now, I'm not, I don't do enough residential. How do you guys deal with the A&D community or the design community in the residential world? Do you guys get into that?
No, not really. I mean, the majority of the residential that we do is already on existing projects, existing homes. As far as having relationships with builders, with the builder direct. It's not necessarily with A&D, and the builder is going to lead their architect, their designer in a specific direction based off information that we give them. But we still have to start with all the spec materials. But we don't do like any spec homes or anything like that. Like I said, everything is kind of direct. A lot of custom stuff, and they're pretty wide open. It's a blank canvas. Well, what do you recommend? This is what color we want. This is kind of what material we want. What do you
Why haven't
recommend?
you guys gotten in touch with, like, some of the higher end designers for residential stuff, and chatted with them and started forming relationships with them?
I've 100% tried. I went to what's it called, the home and whatever shows. I know that we had talked about that with Elizabeth was on the podcast. I went there and tried to make connections. Um, it seems that they already have like their core group, and it's hard for them to veer away from it. So all I ask for is, hey, if you ever have any issues or you're in a bind, give me a call, see if we can help you out. Um, but it's hard to get in there because typically they have a favorite that they work with that kind of gives them pricing. They've already spec material. They don't want to veer from the normal, and um, but that's only a handful. At this point, I think I'm making an excuse on why we haven't, when I know there's a couple dozen out there around us. So I guess I'm too lazy. That's what it is, Paul. I'm too lazy.
I'll, and I'll be honest, I just don't want to get into that much residential.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were talking about commercial, and that's by
Oh,
far, I think, both of our, bread and butter, and what we really love doing. But when I do a residential, I like to bring in a designer sometimes, even if I'm dealing with a homeowner, because they like to see that, those couple of and
All the pieces put together before they start actually
yeah,
putting them
those little
together.
deals, and they like to see that little degree at the end of the name, and it helps with getting product through because I'll deal with the designer and I'll work with her and say, hey, this is what I think we ought to put there, pick a color, and then it's a lot easier sell if you have a designer that you do work with. I have one I do a ton of work with um, at a local manufacturing plant, and I mean we've done everything from epoxy coatings to in pro wall panels to like, and it's just they have a problem, they go to her for a solution. She comes to me for the solution. I give her samples, chain sets of stuff that I think will really address those things that they want to address, whatever, whether it's wearability or a certain look they're trying to. And I'll do the research. We're doing wall panels, and we had started doing Impro wall panels a while back. But we started looking at acoustical wall panels, and there's this Lux wall that we and there's other brands, but Lux wall is the one we ended up going with,
Did you
and it's
say Impro?
Luxewall, and it's an acoustical wood visual, and we're getting ready to do a bunch of that for them because in their new facility we put a bunch of Milliken LVT in there, and um, but they're big open rooms, so there's no acoustical ceilings. It's all open, and so it's kind of echoey. And so we're putting these really cool looking wall panels everywhere. Well, that's not something I would have done if I wasn't dealing directly with the designer. I mean, I may have done the wall panel install or bid it, but I would have been hard bidding against somebody. It's just a different world, and you find new products. I also like being challenged. Hey, we're looking for this, something that's going to, you know, look awesome, match our decor, match our the overall design in the facility, but be acoustical at the same time. So it was fun just finding the product, putting the, the parts and pieces together, and then putting the numbers together, got accepted, and boom, start next week.
Boom shakalaka. There you go. Creating solutions.
That's what I have find a hard time doing is being the actual designer when it comes to stuff, right? Because I just bid one and got the contract for the our local county, and they're like, "This is what we want. You just provide us with whatever you want to do." And it's like, man, I have such a hard time doing this, right? But it's just like you see a lot of these architectural firms, and they do a lot of the same products on multiple different jobs. So you can, oh, it's this product. I know who the architect is basically, and I think it's all based on whoever has visited their office most recently, probably because I mean it's all in relationships, right? Because there's been times where some of our sales reps come in here and it's like, oh, you know what? I am looking at a job right now, and this is what we need. So let me get some pricing for that.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. When you've been in the business long enough and you got uh, you've got some experience with a particular A&D firm, and then you get an owner who's like, and that they've worked together in the past. You're like, I know what I can show you.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy that part. It's something I really like doing, and I'm not a designer, but I've just been doing this so long that I've got a feel for what looks good together. Although, some people might question that. But for the most part, I feel like I got a pretty good taste in that stuff, and all you need is a couple of architects or a couple of designers, a couple of architects to really have lean on you for information and for stuff, and you'll really impact your business in a positive manner. Um, Not to mention that when you're doing those hard bid jobs, and they're pulling for you, that doesn't hurt either.
I mean, I got a bid the other day that said that it's going to be based on the most responsive bidder too, right? So asking those questions, making sure you're getting clarifications, saying, "Hey, this is what you should use because this product probably isn't going to work out." Because I mean, architects are awesome, but they're not right all the time, and we've all seen it where it's like, "Man, this is the wrong product." But I've gone through a project recently where it was like it was the wrong stuff, and then it's like, man, it's just not performing. I think we should just pull it out, put something else there. And they were like, yes, I agree. And those are the conversations that you have to have. Don't be
Yeah, and
scared to say it.
that's where it starts too. You know, that
Yeah.
real good relationship starts when you can save them. You might show them something that'll save them a little bit of money, but be more appropriate for their project. Man, they'll love you forever for that kind of thing.
And even if it's not saving money, but it's saving a headache down the road, right? Like nobody wants a project and to come back with egg on their face. Everybody wants to put forth their best possible finished product when they are walking away. And sometimes it's like, hey, you know what? You told me it wasn't going to perform. We've installed this elsewhere, and we haven't had issues, but we're having issues now. What changed? And that's where Daniel
Mm,
nerds out too and lets them know, hey, this is water soluble. This we can't use it here. This is what could potentially happen. Do you really want to take that chance?
Yeah. This one,
It,
they didn't even complain about it. I did because I didn't like the way it looked. After I went back and looked at it, I'm like, this ain't it. Like, I don't want my name on it.
yep, I've
What
never been a fan
what
of stuff like
what are
that.
some particulars about that one, Daniel?
That one, it was just on paper, everything added up to the right amount, like where it was okay, it was like transitions and stuff, right? And it's like, okay, we're doing some rubber. It on paper, it says that it'll fit in there. I mean, we could probably only squeeze a 16th of an inch in there, and it was like hard. So I was like, yeah, this ain't gonna work. And then while we are doing it, I mean, we couldn't just stop and try and figure it out then, right? I was like, you know what, we'll do our best and see what happens. And it just didn't perform the way I wanted it to. So I was like, hey, let's change these out.
Yeah.
And that's where you make note of that, right? You got to make mental notes of that. If you ever come across it again, you're going to say, hey, look, we've already tried that. I know that the dimensions say it's going to work, but all it takes is for one form to be off or for it to hook down just a little bit too much pressure, wrong material, and it's just going to lift it up just enough for it not to bond properly.
Mhm.
And like you were saying, sometimes you can save them some money too, right? And everyone likes that, right? It makes everyone look better, especially when you can go back to the client and be like, hey, we can use this same exact stuff with a different name on it for this much cheaper. Same performance and everything. And that's kind of what I'm in the middle of right now on one where it's like they're selling the same exact adhesive because you have to buy it with the product, but one manufacturer is selling it for $672 a pail, the other one
Mm.
$220 a pail.
Dang.
You know, that fancy label costs a lot of money
Yeah.
to make.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, it's not it's not that you're always saving money by driving. You can save them money and increase your margins. That's the
Yeah.
other thing with it that I enjoy is I can give them sometimes just by doing a little bit of research, or having good knowledge of product lines, I can show them a better product, more affordable. I mean, like a real win-win-win. I can save them a little bit of money. I can make some extra margin, and they get a higher performing product. So
And
we keep our eyes open for that kind of thing because it does set you out to be the quote unquote industry expert. And when you get that, when you've become that to your A&D community, or even just a few firms, like I said earlier, you'll see a it's a really it's just a different business model, but it bodes very well to just add it on to your current model if you are a flooring contractor. if you're a flooring installer, we talked about that a few podcasts ago, how you can get involved with the A&D community and work with
Yeah.
directly with your
Yeah, and the
uh,
crazy thing is that a lot, I don't want to say a lot of times, but if you're working directly with them, they can get the product from the reps based on their relationship with them
Mhm.
sometimes, right?
mhm.
And and I think like when you are dealing with architects and you are like swapping out materials and stuff, as an installer, I never thought about it has to have the same exact specs and wear layers and all this, but they want to see it has to be equivalent or better in order for them to kind of make that decision.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that too, because I had a scenario where we actually found a better product for a lesser dollar amount from a local distributor versus, let's just say, one of the bigger names. And I was like, "What? How can this be like?" But he's right. It worked, and the spec got changed, and we saved. I didn't just make a little more on the margin, but we actually saved the client some money too. I made a little. We made a little bit more, and we saved some money at the end of the day, and that was a win-win. And then the
That's
next two
the
buildings,
win-win-win.
yeah, and then the next ones were just a phone call. Hey, I need some numbers. I need you to start in a month and a half. It's like, okay.
How often do you guys do voluntary alternates on any project where it's like part of the bid, but you just give a voluntary alternate for another product
It's
or
happening
another?
more and more. Some of the hard bids over here, it was straight up say no alternates allowed, and then you're just stuck, right? And then when
Mhm.
I've had a few of them come
There's
across
plenty of
where
that.
a lot of it is just basis of design. That's when it's like, okay, like that floor that I was talking about with the adhesive, just the price of that adhesive, I'm like, I need to submit something else because this is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Eh,
there's a lot to be said. Like I've kind of beaten a dead horse here, but when you are working with them, it's I've hard bid so many jobs, and to get an architect or a designer to change their mind on something in a hard bid scenario seems like it's almost impossible. Where if you're working kind of directly with them, it's so like open, and that's why I love specifying product. I love working with them. I love figuring it out and specifying product because they're so much more open to your opinion. I have a job right now, product got discontinued, trying to get them find some material that's gonna, and it's like the architects out of Kansas City, projects in another part of Kansas. It's like they don't even want to hear it. They're just like, well, you got to find something. You got to find it. And I'm like, so I've been searching all over US for, you know, for this product, and every distributor that distributes that manufacturer. I won't name any names, but at the end of the day, it's like it's so much harder, I guess, at the end is what I'm getting at than when you're dealing directly with the
Right.
person who's making that design decision.
And I think that I know what manufacturer you're talking about because there's been I was in a meeting that we're supposed to start and I was like, guys, that they won't even give me a date. Like,
mm,
and they said,
mhm.
switch it. Like, don't even care, just switch it. Do it right now.
Yeah, they've been having some problems, this particular one.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why it's good to sit in a room full of. I don't want to say it like that, but sitting in a room full of people who have had issues before and they just want to avoid it, they will say that very quickly.
Yeah.
Yep, get rid of it, switch it. Nothing you can do about it. I wanted to add to you had said something about the alternates, and at first getting into the bidding and all that, and submitting alternates, like I never thought about it uh, in this aspect, but now I'm learning, and I think it's from talking with you, and obviously and learning from the podcast and Daniel,
Mhm.
and learning the whole thing is if you are switching and submitting alternates, you don't necessarily have to find something totally different. You can call the same rep and say, "Hey, what can we do so that way I'm not taking it away from you, right? Because you don't want to interfere with that relationship either."
Yeah, if
Um,
they specified something, though, a lot of times that'll come up when it's over budget or something, and they're
mhm,
like, "Hey, could you?" this has to be value engineered. And it's a fancy word for get cheaper, you know. The truth is I always, if somebody has a spec, I'm going to go back to that person unless I don't like them, which is pretty rare. But if I don't like the rep or the product, then I may not go back to it and honor their spec. But 99% of the time, I'm going to go back to that manufacturer's rep and I'm going to say, hey, I got to value engineer this. What do you have that's close that's gonna make a difference here? A different line, because sometimes they have, and now with tariffs it's even getting a little more interesting, because they may have a line that they're buying that's subject to tariffs now because it's coming out of Vietnam or something. Of course, this is all fluid, but now I don't know that the tariffs are coming out of Vietnam, but you get my point. Um, and but they have another line that they make down in Georgia that they can, you know, get faster, that they're pulling out of their own plant, that has a little bit different visual maybe, but meets the meets gets closer to their budget.
And that's when you get to the design aspect, I think, because a lot of the times they're like just the same color palette. We need. They don't care who it's from or anything as long as it's the same color palette and around the same size.
Yeah, and that's where it all starts. That's where this design stuff kind of starts, is at the uh that that's kind of the first introduction I had to it anyway, was like, hey, we need something that's gonna just look good with it. Well, then you're trying to figure out like what does look good with it. You've got to come up with that, what that means. So yeah,
I don't mind making suggestions when it comes to color schemes, right? Like I feel like I've been around long enough to see what flows. But when it's at the end of the day, you still want someone else to sign off on it. Like, hey, this is what I recommend. But it's really up to you. I'm not a designer. I just been around for a little bit, and this is what I am seeing together, right? And that goes commercial, residential. I really don't like to be the one to make a final decision on some a place where I'm not going to live and see every day. But
well, and speaking of residential, like studs working with designer, Jorge's on here a lot. In fact, I think he chimed in earlier and said, what's
He's
up,
chiming in
brothers?
right now.
Yeah, but he's always dealing with the local designers, and that's something that any of the installers out there need to pay attention to, is working with them, working with the design community. A lot of them, especially in the residential world, they buy the materials themselves, and you're just installing them. And that was where I first got started in designers. There's a company here that's now, the both principals have retired, so they shut it down. But at the time, it's called Olson and Blackburn, and I did their work for many, many years when I first started this company and installed it. And that's how I got into like learning about that stuff and working with designers, was just installing for them. And they were buying their product direct from, they may go to a pro sourcer or whatever, and or they may be buying direct on some really unique carpet. Um, and I know Jorge does a ton of that stuff. So
Yeah, that's what he was saying, that, sometimes he gave him a good price, and then you start a relationship, and anytime they make changes, they're just like, we don't want any of this extra carpet, you just keep it. And then that gives him an opportunity to go sell it later. He says that some of them are like 12 by 30 foot, 12 by 50 foot. I mean, you're looking at
ooh,
an entire bedroom at that point.
or a flight of
yeah,
steps,
12 by
depending
30,
on what
12
it
by
is.
50. Yeah, you can do a lot of runners. I know he does a lot of stair runners and
Mhm.
binds the edges and does all that kind of cool stuff. But yeah, you got to get involved with those. You don't have to. I mean, you can be a bid shop or just the low bid installer as well. But I think there's a lot more pleasure in it. You can tell when we talk to Jorge how much you know, that he wouldn't do it any other way. He wants to deal in that world. and
Custom. Custom. It's got to be custom.
it is,
100% custom.
yeah. But that's where he brings to the table the ability to do that, as well as I know his input is valuable as well. And again, that's just being the kind of the go-to source for them. What's
I
your
got some.
guys's
Oh, go ahead.
what do you guys ever deal with um GCs when they're doing they have their own architectural firm or their own designers within the GC?
A lot.
Really? You got a lot of that up there? We don't
Yeah.
have a lot of that. A lot of our general contractors, they're still dealing with architects,
I have a new
exterior
scenario
firms,
for
I
you
should
too.
say. What's that?
So I have a new scenario for you too, and it's. I mean, it's new to me, and I didn't really know how to approach it, but I don't. I'm not going to say any names, but there was a design firm.
Yeah, be careful.
There was a design firm who happens to own a flooring company,
Uh,
and
It's like a sister company.
yes, and
uh, I know a GC firm that up in Kansas City that owns a flooring company and then still
so
solicits bids.
yeah, and I got a phone call, and I didn't know how to handle this. I don't even know if it was the right way, to be honest with you. Like I tried to call and like, hey, like I don't know how to approach. Like I really, this is the first, right? And I got a phone call, and they're like, hey, I noticed that you opened it up. Are you guys gonna put a bid? And I said, absolutely not, and this is why. You know, I just conflict of interest. Are they not bidding it? And I know that they specified it, therefore I'm not
Like
going to
we
have
said
any.
earlier, you're doing the job for that salesperson, so they're gonna give you
Yep.
preferential
Yeah,
pricing.
I mean,
So
there's a few times when I'm on the other side of that you're talking about where I'm on the other side. I know somebody else specified it, and there's those times because I like it when it happens to me. If I don't participate on the other side and go ahead and just send in a bid, even though I know for a fact I'm not going to get the job, that that it causes this chaos. Like then they don't want to work with flooring companies to specify projects and product because they can't get enough competitive. They can't get any competitive bidding. So you also got to be really careful to keep it somewhat quiet. If you are working on a spec, you got to let your reps know, but you better be dealing with
oh
good
yeah,
reps. I have had it to where I decided to spec someone in and I hadn't done business with them in a while. They turned around and called my competitor, let them know that I'm working, that there's some big job with this XYZ carpet. And yeah,
that is definitely 100% already happened to me too early on, and it's like they already get the favorable treatment. You know what I mean? And I want to go back to that other conversation. Part of the conversation is I did call the rep, and the rep said, "Yeah, they expect it. They're going to get the lead." And I said, "Okay," but they did make like they did say something that is true. It doesn't matter if they are owners of a company or a separate entity. It's no different than a designer calling me to help with a spec and giving them information to give them the right lead, right? Except for it's a little different. Not two separate companies, right? It's one. It's one pretty much. But the cherry on top is guess what? Still won the bid.
oh yeah.
Being very honest and saying what I didn't like, and I don't know if that was it or they just did it like, oh, you better just give them that one. Like, oh, we don't
Well,
want them.
sometimes you'll find that you get on the lucky side of that deal and they're like, we've got to award some work. I had a contractor, I definitely will not name names, but I did almost everything. And he started running into problems with getting competitive bids because people were like, oh, Stewart's going to do it. And so they, they, they were having problems because I did all their negotiated work and I did most of their bid work that if something went out for bid, and they were um it was a competitive bid on the GC side too, that they weren't getting competitive numbers from everybody. Um, and so it was just like my number. If I wasn't low with the other GCs, then the other GCs had a competitive advantage. So there's been a few times where, you know, he called me and say, "Hey man, I've got to give this one to somebody else. I've got to, or
Yeah,
else I'm
you
never
gotta
never
gotta
gonna
keep
get
them happy.
another.
Right.
I'm never gonna get another competitive bid." I'm like,
Hey, and even if that was the reasoning for us being awarded the project, I'm okay with that.
"Who cares?
It shut me up.
You got it. It doesn't matter. I mean, they got a good bid on it. It didn't hurt, that it happened that way. I mean, that's just also. I do encourage you, if you guys, the more you can. I did a do some educational uh stuff with architects. So I've got this presentation called the chemistry of flooring. And I just go to architects and do a presentation on the chemistry of flooring, like what to be thoughtful of, from concrete moisture to the different mitigation systems. A lot of what we're going to be going over with Huddle U, for all you listeners out there, we're going to be doing
I was gonna
a
say,
new
is this
series.
the teaser?
We're going to be doing a new series coming up soon, and you'll get a whole different feel of the Huddle. It's a very particular on particular items. It's going to be more webinar kind of setup, and experts will be brought in, and we're going to be doing some education series. But when you do those kinds of things, and I do these presentations with the architects, they really appreciate it, to learn what to look for on the back of the LVT spec, so that they can understand. Like, they don't understand a lot of times what to look for in a quality product. And so dimensional stability testing and those kinds of things, I'm like, if they don't publish it, then you make sure you call and ask for it. And it should be at this number or below, as your dimensional stability. It needs to come out of these regions, because these regions have really poor raw materials. So if you go in these regions when you're specifying your LVT, you're going to have better luck with gapping and curling and those kinds of issues. Um, of course, I always push them to American made, but so much LVT is imported that you got to also tell them the different parts of the world that are best to get LVT from. And at the end of the day, they super appreciate your get just free transfer of knowledge. And before you know it, they're going to call you to ask you what LVT to use in this scenario, or what to use here, what product, because they look at you as the expert.
Well, and it's direct information, right? Like you're not just reading a spec and learning from that. Is you're getting feedback from someone who's been out there installing it, touching it, has experience with the successes and the failures, and through the progression of the technology that's been incorporated in all of the materials. Like you've been there since, I don't want to say ground zero. I know you're not that old, but you're up on it, right? You keep yourself educated to the current time, as best as you can, and that helps a
Yeah,
lot.
I don't make a lot of qualms about it. I do look at myself as an expert, and you guys do too, right? I mean, so just lay it out there and let them know that we are the experts in this industry. Like, not just from a, um, we know you can have somebody, and this is what I'll tell an architect. Like, you can have somebody that'll sell you something. What I'm going to sell you is the right thing. I'm going to tell you what the right thing is, give you some options there. I'm going to take this whole vast, you know, you could fill showrooms with an S full of product. I'm going to narrow that down and give you the options that best serve your project. No different than really what we're doing with Go Carrera. Like, we're going to narrow down the installers to the ones that fit you and your project the best, and give that to you. So yeah, I think it's invaluable if you can. do those kind of educational things for your commercial people, but also, yeah, I would guess I've never done this with in the residential world, but if you're a really good installer, write up a chemistry of flooring or you know pros and con, something to do with subfloors or substrates in your area. Obviously, these things change throughout. You might in our area, you're always almost always going to have a wood subfloor, um, unless you're doing a basement. But you know, picking the right flooring for your house. What are the tricks of the trade or whatever? Write up something and offer to present that free, and you'll be blown away at the response you get from the A&D community if you'll give them some free information, because a lot of these people are just right out of college. You know, they get new designers right out of college, and they know what looks pretty, and they know how to put things together that look good, but getting the right product for the right area and saving them from failures, um, and egg on their face, they will appreciate that.
Got to make everybody look good, man.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And
That that's the
I,
key.
I want to ask a question. I mean, I know the answer, and I kind of have an idea, but for some of the audience out there, mostly like the installer base who might not know where to get familiar with additional products and what's out there, what's one of the most effective ways that you have found to get your eyes and your hands on new product that might outperform what you're used to and what you've been comfortable with for years?
Well, from an installer's perspective, what I would suggest is when you get your hands on a good product that goes down good and then you see it, a few months later and it still looks good, like take note of that stuff, because that if you forget, that's lost. But if you can take note of that, then that's one way is you're taking note of the product that you put your hands on and perform well. And then next time you're asked about your opinion about a good LVT, you can boom just drop that bit of knowledge on them, like, hey, I just did a project of a whole house in this particular product and it looks just like wood. You walk on it and even feels like wood. It's really awesome. And then if you got a few pictures to back it up, there you go. I mean, those because a lot of times, I mean, that's one way. The other way is if the architects is spending time, they want to know that you know what you're doing. So spending time in researching the product lines and getting to know sales reps and stuff like that. I know there's not as much opportunity for installers to, at least here, to get to know sales reps, but you certainly bring the knowledge. The more training you take, the more demos you go to, workshops you go to, you start to learn about the products and really understanding them, then you are able to guide your architect, guide your designer, guide your homeowner in a good quality decision, and they appreciate that stuff, man, so much. Some of our
I,
best letters of recommendation are letters when we were involved in the early going of the job, and and helped lead the way for them to get the right product, and they love it. On top of that, they actually love the product. They just, well, you're the hero.
have you have you ever had an instance where you're not the hero and you recommended something because the other product wasn't going to work, and this product that was selected at the end of the day still did not perform?
Um,
There's a twist at the end of this question. That's why I'm just
you
kind of
know,
starting
I
it out.
I I can't say that there's certainly been some times, and I won't name the product, that I took a early designed product in, and then later on it started having some issues, not on my project, but at this school district that I took it into, and they made it their standard. And then there were some issues later on in manufacturing, and quite a bit of it had to be replaced. Um, that but that egg never came back on me because it ended up being a different flooring company that did the job, the particular one, but it wasn't them. to
Right.
be fair, they're my competitor. I'd love to say it was their fault. It was definitely a product failure, but
It was their fault for using bad product.
but I did take it in, and it is a good product. They just had some manufacturing problems, so getting around you. I don't know how you get around that one. Sometimes even manufacturers make mistakes, and more so than I think that the claims even will admit.
So the twist at the end of the question was is yeah is happened to me, right? It's happened. We've invested a lot of dollars and cents in specific products that didn't necessarily perform the way we thought they were going to. Like when we did the little test run and tried it out, we're time is the true test run, right? You got to give it time. Um, but the other thing that has caused some failures is not sharing proper maintenance with clients and end users, and and then in turn it's you installed it wrong, you did this wrong. Well, you're right. It doesn't look good anymore. You're right. Now let me try to figure out what's happened. Well, just give me a second. Let me check it out. What are you cleaning this with? How are you cleaning it? Well, the same way I clean that floor over there, or the same way I've been cleaning the hard tile, or same way I've been cleaning the carpet. Like, oh,
Yeah,
well,
I mean that that brings up a deal where adding value at the end of your job, doing a little bit of a show and tell. So one thing that I want to do better here at the flooring company, Stewart and Associates, is start on our closeouts. Is do and we've done this, but we just don't do it consistently enough. But show them how to maintain it. Give them a free seminar at the end of the job. Takes you an
man, oh
hour,
man, oh man,
uh,
that's a
and you
great,
you show them
that's
how
great.
to properly maintain it. Even if they're gonna have like a janitorial firm maintain it, you're like, hey, I want to set you up for success and make sure you know how to do it. So one time we teamed up with the local maintenance company, went through the exact processes with them before we went to the job, made sure that they understood exactly what had to be done, and then they demonstrated it perfectly. And we just did that to give the owner the best. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just trying to help them, and they appreciate that, and that'll always come back to you. And just showing them
You,
the right way to take care of it. I've got a horror story. I think I've told on this podcast before. We did a big job where we were replacing LVT, and we ended up going in with a one of the early runners in the floating floor world. It's
uh,
been over a decade ago, and it was a full floating floor over a VCT floor. And about 6 months after we did the job, contractor calls and says, hey man, you got to go out and look at this. There's something wrong, like really wrong. You got to go look at this, and I need you to take care of things, like take care of it as soon as possible. I said, all right. So I don't know.
You sound like a computer.
oh, battery dying.
I was losing back to the Z. Sorry about that. So I went out and took a look at it, and sorry if this whitewashes my face, guys, but um, I went out and took a look
Well,
at the project, and it was cupped everywhere, so bad that the tongue and groove had broken. Um,
ooh,
it was in bad shape. So I sat there and ate lunch and waited. It was
right
a
on the floor, right?
cafeteria
Like
area.
right on the floor.
It looked great at first, for sure. So I sat there and watched them clean it, and I noticed this water when they brought it out in the mop was like steaming hot.
Oh my
So I went and
goodness.
talked to the maintenance guy. I was like, "Hey, what do you got in there?" He's like, "Just water." And I was like, "Oh yeah, how do you get the floor clean?" He's like, "My secret, dude." And I'm like, "Really? What's the secret?" And he's like, "I get water
Acetone.
out of the boiler, and it's so hot that it just takes anything off." And I'm like, "All right, there you go." You know,
Can you say
he was
that a little
taking
bit louder?
212 degree, like boiling water,
No, that's when you just start.
and dunking it and just mopping the floor. And of course, it's taking that floating floor through this thermocycle that is just
Yeah.
unattained. It can't withstand it. And so yeah, we end up replacing it and then telling them, like, the more you can at the end, tell them exactly what yeah, good old steaming water will cause havoc on a carpet too sometimes.
On
But
anything. We've been on that side, on the carpet side, where they're having issues. We go repair it, and then he ended up talking to the maintenance guy, and he was like, "Yeah, like after you installed it, some employees spilled some stuff on it, and we steam cleaned it like the next day after you guys were done here."
Yeah, because they had yeah, I remember that. I was like,
yeah, and you add
it,
that much heat to the backing systems of carpet tile, boom.
well, they
This was
just, well,
Broadloom.
And
Broadloom,
broadloom. I mean,
they
you can
just
break
killed
loose
that
the
fresh
you add
adhesive.
that much heat to a broadloom, you can break loose that freaking latex, binder to the secondary backing, especially
And
if
it's
they don't move the steamer fast enough, because those steam cleaners are intended on going across the carpet fiber very quickly. They get in, sit there, and steam the crap out of it, and before you know it, the latex is breaking loose. And what are you glued to? The secondary backing. The secondary
Yep,
backing's attached with latex.
yep, and that's what happened. We had wrinkles everywhere, and it's like, what is going? What did first? I will say first is what did I do wrong? Right? What did I do wrong? Like I know I didn't stretch it that much. I know I didn't manipulate it that much. But like, what's going on? And you start looking, and I'm like, man, this looks like this is like water damage or something. And this is years ago, but it sticks with you. And that was the thing is, seeing the maintenance guy, and I seen him looking at me like, and you keep your cool and go have a casual conversation. Hey man, what's going on? How long you been here? It's a good place to work. Yeah, I'm just here trying to fix this carpet. I think we did something wrong. I don't really know what's going on, but I just got to get it fixed so that way they get off my back. And it's like, did anybody spill anything over here? Like, it's just really weird. And that's when the story came out. And
Yep.
what was your name again?
Well, we got a few comments about steaming on LVT. They'll remove the factory finish. Yeah, I mean, you you got to be careful with. They have manufacturers. The all of them have maintenance recommendations for each flooring, and so going and doing that little display for their cleaning people will just make you look, not only make you look good at the time, but it's going to possibly save you from a callback later when it's
Yeah,
a maintenance related issue and not even your deal.
right. And we did a vet's office, and he was like, he contacted me, hey, what do we need to do to clean this? Because we're trying, and the only thing that was working that they found was they were taking tennis balls and
Oh
scrubbing it,
yeah,
right?
that's old
And I
school.
said, I already sent you the stuff. I'll send it over again. I said, we even have I don't know if you have a auto scrubber, but we have one here. I can bring it over there and we can, do that first initial cleaning just so you can see what it is. He was like, nope, I got enough information. I'll get one.
Clint here, he's one of our project managers, and he came from the maintenance world. And about a couple months back, I can't remember the exact time frame, but it's been a few months back. He had a customer call and said, "Man, we can't keep this floor clean at all." He's like, "It's just gnarly looking. Something's wrong with it." He goes out there. He's like, "What are you cleaning this with?" "Oh, this cleaner over, here." And he goes in. They take him in there to their maintenance closet, and they were using a degreaser and
Ooh,
putting
the
in their auto
orange
scrubber.
degreaser.
Yeah, and putting in their auto scrubber, and you can imagine. So he gave them a neutral pH cleaner right out of their own um, closet. He's like, "Here, use this." Doing work for that client today, and all he did was go out there, address a problem, and guide them in the right way. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. We got off the topic of
Yeah, we sure did.
working with architects and
Probably my
Well,
designers,
fault.
but you can only
that
beat
that
that so far. Like
well,
we
and it's the education aspect of giving them all these things, right? Because you look at closeouts and they want all this documentation anyways. Doesn't mean that anyone's going to read it. So the more information that you can put in front of them at that time is better.
Yeah, good point. All right, guys. Well, we have come to the end, actually a little bit over on this podcast, amazingly.
Oh, yeah.
Got started a little bit late, so I think that's why we didn't notice. That being said, thanks everybody for joining us. Give us a like and subscribe on YouTube, any of the social medias. Thumbs up, thumbs down. We love it. Give us some of your recommendations. I think we have our educational series all lined out. That be on the lookout for that. We would love for you to attend. We really need you to attend. So if you like the huddle, you're going to love the educational series. We're bringing in experts that will help all of us be better at our projects, at our jobs, and hopefully end up, you know, giving the clients a better
Right.
outcome at the end of the day.
And
So
let us know, what you guys want to know too. I mean, what we think is valuable isn't necessarily what you guys think is valuable. So we need that input as well.
yep. Yeah, give us
Yeah, I
some
guess.
feedback, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Until then, everybody stay safe, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
See you guys.